The city of Halcyon 9 never truly slept. Suspended miles above the Earth's surface, it hung like a vast steel lantern in orbit, casting faint shadows across the clouds below. The station's lower decks always smelled faintly of burnt ozone and recycled air, reminders that every breath, every flicker of light depended on old machines humming in the dark. Doctor. Mara Vey stood alone on the observation deck, her palms pressed against the cold glass. Beyond the reinforced panels stretched the infinite black ocean of space. Distant stars blinked, but her attention was locked on a single pulsing light that flickered just beyond the edge of the colony's sensor net. Still there, she whispered to herself. 17 hours and counting. Her voice echoed faintly against the empty chamber. The console behind her beeped. A flat, synthetic voice filled the air. AI system. Unidentified signal remained stationary. Frequency irregular. Probability of natural origin, less than 2%. Mara turned sharply. Then what the hell are we looking at? The AI paused, as though it were choosing its words carefully, though Mara knew its algorithms were incapable of hesitation. AI system, unknown. Moments later, the heavy doors slid open with a hiss. A man stepped in, tall and broad-shouldered, his uniform wrinkled as if he hadn't slept in days. Commander Elias Kale carried the look of someone who distrusted both machines and mysteries. Mara, he said, rubbing the tension out of his jaw. You called me at 300. This better not be another one of your phantom readings. She turned, her eyes sharp. Does this look like a phantom to you? She tapped a control, and the display screen erupted with static and waves of light. A series of pulses repeated, irregular, almost stuttering. Kale leaned in, squinting. The signal was faint but undeniable. Looks like noise, he muttered. It's not noise, Mara snapped. Listen. She amplified the audio, and the deck filled with a hollow, rhythmic thrum. It was too structured to be random static, too deliberate. Kale frowned. It almost sounds like a voice, Mara finished. They stood in silence, letting the strange cadence repeat. Each throb carried a weight, a pattern that tugged at the brain as though it were meant to be understood. Finally, Kale exhaled. Fine, let's say you're right. Who or what is transmitting it? Mara's eyes returned to the stars. Her reflection in the glass looked pale, almost ghostly. That's what we need to find out. The signal isn't drifting. It's waiting. For the first time in years, Elias Kale felt a cold prickle down his spine. He had commanded Halcyon 9 through riots, system failures, and near mutinies, but this felt different. Waiting for what? He asked quietly. Mara didn't look at him. The pulse flashed again in the dark. For us, she whispered. The command center of Halcyon 9 buzzed with low, constant activity. Rows of technicians hunched over consoles, their eyes glazed by the pale glow of screens. The smell of synthetic coffee clung to the air. Above them, the vast holographic display of Earth shimmered, clouds drifting across continents that seemed almost unreal from this distance. Commander Kale strode into the room with Doctor. Mara Vey at his side. Heads turned, the sight of the station's science officer and its commander arriving together at such an hour sent murmurs rippling across the chamber. Eyes forward, Kale barked. The whispers died. At the central console, Lieutenant Rinchar flicked her gaze up, dark hair falling over one eye. She was young, sharp, and far too curious for her own good. Sir, she said, is this about the anomaly outside the net? Word spreads fast. Kale shot her a look. It's not an anomaly. It's a classified investigation. And if I hear the word alien whispered one more time, I'll have every off-shift tech running diagnostics until their hands fall off. Clear, the room stiffened. Crystal, Rin muttered, hiding a smirk. Mara slid into the console seat beside her, fingers darting across the interface. The hologram shifted, zooming in on a small, jagged blip suspended just beyond Halcyon 9's protective perimeter. There, Mara said. Her voice carried a weight that silenced the chamber. 17 hours fixed position, no drift, no decay, it's transmitting directly at us. The signal played again, filling the room with that haunting thrum. Techs exchanged uneasy glances. Someone coughed into their sleeve. Rin leaned closer. "It's too clean," she whispered. "Not like any distortion I've seen." Mara nodded. "Exactly, it's not random. It's deliberate." Kale rubbed his temple, then addressed the room. "Prepare Shuttle Bay 2. I want a team ready in 20 minutes. We're going out there." The chamber erupted in overlapping protests. "Commander, with respect, it's too risky. What if it's a trap?" Kale raised a hand and the voices died. His eyes, hard as steel, swept across them. "You think sitting here guessing is safer?" His voice dropped into a growl. "Whatever that is, it's watching us, waiting. I'd rather meet it on our terms than wait for it to knock on our door." The silence that followed was heavy, electric. Shuttle Bay 2, the air was colder here, damp with the tang of machine oil. Massive clamps held the sleek survey vessel Artemis in place, its silver hull gleaming under floodlights. Technicians scurried around it, running last-minute checks. Kale stood at the base of the ramp, fastening his harness. "You're sure about this, Mara?" Her hands trembled slightly as she clipped her gear into place, though her voice stayed firm. "If we ignore this, we'll regret it. History doesn't wait for the cautious." "You sound like every scientist who ever got someone killed." Mara shot him a look, her eyes glinting. "And you sound like every commander who was too afraid to find out the truth." The tension hung between them, sharp as broken glass, until Rin appeared with her pack slung carelessly over one shoulder. "You two done flirting with death?" she asked dryly. "Because I brought snacks. Mystery signals always go better with snacks." Kale glared, but Mara allowed herself the faintest smile. "Get in," Kale ordered. Inside the Artemis, the hum of the engines built to a low growl. The harnesses locked, the displays came alive, and Mara's heart pounded in her chest as the bay doors slid open. Beyond them was only silence, and the faint, pulsing beacon that had been waiting in the dark. As the Artemis detached and drifted free, Kale's voice filled the cabin. Eyes sharp, weapons ready. "We're not out here to make friends." The beacon pulsed again, closer now, filling the cabin with its hollow rhythm. Mara stared at it, the edges of her mind tingling as if something or someone was whispering just out of reach. "Commander," she said slowly, her lips felt dry, "I think it's responding to us." The pulse shifted, once, twice, 3 times. Like an answer, the Artemis shuddered as though space itself had moved. The Artemis cut through the void like a blade, her thrusters humming soft and steady. From the viewport, the beacon's pulse grew sharper, no longer a faint shimmer, but a deliberate flicker that painted the blackness in fleeting bursts of white-blue light. Each flash carved shadows across Mara's face, her eyes locked forward with an intensity that unsettled even Kale. "Distance," Kale barked. 3,000 clicks and closing, Rin answered, her voice quieter than usual. For once her sarcasm was gone. "Signal strength is spiking, Commander. Whatever it is, it knows we're here." The pulses echoed through the hull like a heartbeat. 1, 2, 3. Each pause between beats seemed to stretch longer, heavier. until the silence itself felt alive. Mara leaned closer to her console, adjusting the filters. Lines of code scrambled across her screen as she tried to isolate the pattern. Then slowly her brow furrowed. "No," she whispered. Kale turned. "What?" "It's not just a signal," her throat tightened. "It's language." Inside the cabin, the three of them sat in the cramped glow of their instruments. Mara brought the waveform onto the central display, jagged peaks and valleys flickering in sequence. "Look," she said, pointing. "The gaps between pulses aren't random. They repeat every 49 cycles with micro variations. That's intentional structuring. It's designed to be understood." Kale scowled. "By who?" "By us," Mara said. Her fingers trembled as she brought up the audio again. The pulses repeated, slower now, almost like syllables. Rin swallowed hard. "So what it's talking to us, or calling us," Mara said, "like a lighthouse in the dark." Kale slammed his hand on the armrest. "Enough speculation. We'll find answers when we see it with our own eyes." But even as he spoke, the unease in his tone betrayed him. Approach at 1,000 clicks, the object came into view. Suspended in the void, the structure looked wrong. It was neither machine nor rock, neither sleek nor chaotic. A tangled lattice of black metallic strands twisted into a shape that defied symmetry, as though it had been grown rather than built. Segments pulsed faintly, veins of light running through its surface like bioluminescent veins beneath skin. Rin's jaw dropped. "That is not human." Kale's hands tightened on the controls. "Steady, scan it." Mara's console lit up with streams of incomprehensible data. I don't know. The composition isn't on any known chart. It's absorbing our scans as fast as we fire them." "Absorbing? Like it's learning," Mara whispered. The pulses quickened, matching the rhythm of the Artemis's engine hum. For a brief second, Mara swore she heard something beneath the sound. A faint, almost human murmur, as if a voice were trying to crawl through the static. She leaned forward. "Say it again," she muttered, as though urging the signal itself. "Say it."
The ship shuddered violently. The beacon flared so bright that it seared their vision white. Rin cried out, shielding her eyes. "What the hell was that?" Kale's voice cut through the chaos. "Shields up, full power," but the light wasn't an attack. It was an opening. Before them, a portion of the lattice began to twist apart, unfolding like a flower in bloom. Beyond the black metallic ribs stretched only more darkness, deeper than the void around them, an impossible ink-black corridor leading inside. The pulses stopped. The silence was total. "Commander," Mara's voice trembled. "It's inviting us in." Kale stared at the gaping maw of the structure, his jaw set like iron. His instincts screamed at him to turn back, but another voice whispered, quieter, insistent, that history was being written in this moment. Rin broke the silence. "Yeah, nope, hard pass. Let's just mark this on the star map as Here Be Nightmares and go home." Kale ignored her. His hand hovered over the thruster controls. "If this is a door, then someone or something opened it for us." Mara's eyes glistened in the glow of the viewport. "Then we'd be the first humans to step through." The void inside pulsed once, faintly, as though answering. Kale's decision settled like a weight across his chest. "Strap in," he said coldly. "We're going in." The Artemis drifted forward, swallowed whole by the lattice structure. The moment they crossed the threshold, the stars outside vanished as though a curtain had fallen. The blackness inside wasn't ordinary space. It was denser, heavier, pressing against the ship like an invisible tide. Every instrument on the console flickered. Readouts scrambled into gibberish. The hum of the engines grew thin and metallic, like a recording being stretched too far. Rin gripped her harness. "Tell me I'm not the only one feeling that." Mara's throat was tight. "It's pressure." like the air being squeezed, except she glanced at her oxygen gauge. The readings are normal. Cale didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the viewport, jaw set. Ahead, faint veins of light crawled along the corridor walls, illuminating the interior in sickly pulses. The architecture twisted around them, metal strands woven into patterns that resembled ribs or perhaps fingers curling inward. "Looks like we're inside something skeleton," Rin muttered, forcing a laugh that broke too easily. Mara didn't laugh. She leaned forward, captivated. "It's reactive. The lights are syncing with our engine output, like it's listening." Cale's voice was low, flat. "Then keep quiet." 10 minutes in the further they drifted, the more the silence grew unbearable. No calm static, no hum of the universe. Just the throb of their own ship, echoing against the alien walls. Then, a flicker. Mara's console blinked alive, a single coherent message threading through the chaos of corrupted data. "Welcome," her blood ran cold. "Commander," she turned the screen toward him. "It knows English." Rin's eyes widened. "That's impossible." Cale's knuckles went white on the controls. "Kill the display could be a trick." Mara hesitated. "Or it could be trying to kill it," Cale snapped. The screen went black, but the word lingered in Mara's mind like an afterimage. Contact without warning, the ship lurched. The Artemis's nose tilted down as if caught in a current. Cale fought the controls, teeth gritted. "It's pulling us deeper, thrusters to max." Rin hammered her console. "Engines aren't responding, they're running, but we're not moving by them. We're being towed." The corridor widened ahead, opening into a vast chamber. The walls stretched away into darkness, lit by faint geometric constellations embedded in the structure itself. It looked less like architecture and more like circuitry. At the center floated a sphere, blacker than the void around it. Its surface was smooth, featureless, except for a faint ripple, like the surface of water disturbed by breath. The pulses returned, slow and deliberate. Cale's voice was little more than a whisper. "What the hell is that?" Mara's chest tightened. She felt not heard, a word press against the edges of her consciousness. "Home," her eyes widened. She hadn't spoken it, neither had Rin, but Cale stiffened, his gaze snapped toward her. "You heard that too." Rin shook her head quickly, panic flickering across her face. "I didn't hear anything," Mara swallowed, voice cracking. "It spoke." In my head, the sphere pulsed once more. This time, Cale's head jerked as though struck. He pressed a hand to his temple, eyes narrowing with fury or pain. Rin recoiled. "Commander, what is it saying?" Cale's breathing was ragged. His eyes, usually steady, were wide with something darker. "It wants us to come closer." The choice the chamber was vast and hollow, yet oppressive, like a cathedral where the god had never been human. The sphere's pulse grew stronger, aligning with the pounding of their hearts. Rin unbuckled, her voice shaking. "Nope, no, we turn around right now. I don't care if it's God himself floating in front of us, this is wrong." Cale stood, his shadow stretching long in the flickering light. "We came here for answers. They're right there." Mara rose more slowly, torn between awe and dread. Every instinct screamed danger, yet the whisper in her mind was intoxicating, drawing her forward like gravity. The sphere rippled again. This time the whisper carried more weight, more presence. "Closer." The air felt alive, charged with something vast and ancient. Cale's hand went to the release lever of the hatch. "Suit up," he ordered. "We're going out." The hiss of pressurized seals filled the cabin as the crew donned their suits. The sound was too loud in the silence, each click and clasp echoing like a gunshot. The helmets sealed last, and the world narrowed to the soft rasp of their breathing. The hatch opened. A rush of black nothingness greeted them, but it wasn't cold, not the way vacuum should be. Mara's skin prickled beneath her suit. Her instruments read 0 atmosphere, yet her body swore she was standing inside some invisible medium, thicker than air, heavy like deep water. Cale moved first, tethered to the ship by a glowing cord. His boots touched the chamber floor, if it could be called a floor. The surface wasn't solid, but a shifting weave of metallic strands that bent gently under his weight, then reformed. Rin hesitated at the threshold. Nope, absolutely not. This is how horror stories start. 2 steps in, then bam, something eats us. Kale shot her a glare through his visor. Move, Mara followed, her pulse hammering. The chamber stretched in every direction, vast and endless. The faint glow of their suit lights revealed walls that curved upward and then disappeared into blackness. It felt like standing inside the lungs of something enormous and ancient. And at the center, the sphere waited. The sphere, it hovered silently, utterly still. Its surface was liquid dark, swallowing their beams of light whole. But the whispers pressed harder now, faint, insistent, threading into their thoughts. A closer, Mara froze. Did you hear? Yes, Kale growled. His voice was taut, strained. Rin's voice cracked. I didn't hear anything. I did. Why are you both? She cut off when her helmet display blinked alive. A single word scrawled across her visor. Welcome, Rin gasped, stumbling backward. No, turn it off. She clawed at her helmet controls, but the word pulsed brighter, sync to her racing heartbeat. Kale reached for her arm, steadying her. His voice softened, rare for him. Lieutenant, breathe. Her chest heaved, but she stilled under his grip. The word faded. Mara, meanwhile, couldn't tear her eyes from the sphere. Every instinct screamed danger, yet something deeper pulled at her, something older than fear. Commander, she said quietly, I think it's alive. The message the sphere rippled. A beam of pale light burst forth, not blinding, but sharp and precise. It struck the ground at Mara's feet, coalescing into lines, symbols, glowing faintly, arranged in concentric circles. Mara knelt, eyes wide. It's a projection, a message. The symbols twisted, rearranging themselves, first in shapes that meant nothing, then slowly forming letters. Latin characters. Words. We have WAITED, her breath caught in her throat. It's addressing us. Kale's hand hovered near his sidearm. Don't trust it. This is manipulation. Rin's voice shook. Waited for what? For us? Or for someone else? The symbols shifted again. You are late, the words pulsed, glowing brighter with each beat. The silence was no longer empty. It thrummed with expectation, like the pause before a verdict. Mara's heart pounded. It knows us. It was expecting humans. Commander, this isn't random. This is, the sphere rippled violently, cutting her off. New words carved themselves into the floor. Where is the key? The question hung in the air like a blade. Kale stiffened. What key? The whispers pressed harder against their minds, overlapping now, many voices tangled together. The key! The key! Where is the key? Mara staggered under the weight of it, clutching her helmet. Stop, Rin screamed, backing away toward the Artemis. I told you this was a trap. It thinks we have something. It wants something. Kale's voice thundered over the comms. Enough! He stepped forward, staring up at the sphere. His voice was steady, defiant.
We don't know what you want. If you want the key, you'll tell us what it is. The chamber fell silent. The whispers cut off instantly, leaving a ringing void. Then the sphere pulsed once. A final message appeared, letters burning bright against the floor. You have forgotten. The glow died. The chamber was plunged back into silence. Mara's breath rattled. Forgotten what? Kale didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the sphere, his face pale as if somewhere deep inside him he already knew. The chamber was silent. The last words glowed faintly on the ground beneath them. You have forgotten. Mara's breathing rasped inside her helmet. Forgotten what? She whispered. Her voice shook. Kale didn't answer. He stood rigid, eyes locked on the sphere. His jaw clenched tight as if he recognized the message but refused to admit it. Rin backed toward the Artemis, her tether pulling taut. I don't like this. It's looking for something. and it thinks we're supposed to have it. The sphere pulsed once. The chamber trembled, a low vibration crawling up through their boots. New symbols appeared on the floor. They twisted and rearranged until words formed again. Return the key. Mara's voice cracked. It thinks we lost it. Or we took it, Rin said, her tone sharp with fear. And now it wants it back. Kale raised his head, glaring at the sphere. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. We don't have your damn key. If you want it, you'll tell us where to look. The sphere rippled. The whispers returned, louder this time, overlapping voices, male and female, young and old. The key, forgotten, stolen, Mara staggered, clutching her helmet. It's inside my head, Rin screamed. We need to leave, now. The chamber shook again. Strands of the floor bent upward, curling like claws around their boots before snapping back. The entire structure seemed to breathe, metal shifting like muscle. Kale drew his sidearm, though it was useless in a place like this. His voice thundered in the comms. We are not running. The whispers cut off. The sphere pulsed once more, then projected a final set of words onto the floor. You will remember. And then the light died. The chamber went completely dark. Back in the shuttle, the three of them stumbled back into the Artemis. The hatch sealed shut, and for a moment the sound of their own breathing was deafening. Rin ripped off her helmet, gasping. I'm done. I don't care if they demote me. We're leaving, right now. Kale set his weapon down slowly. His face was pale, his eyes distant. It knows something we forgot. Mara slid into her seat, her hands trembling as she worked the console. Commander, if it's right, if humans had contact before, maybe even possession of this key that changes everything we know about history. Rin slammed her fist against the wall. Are you listening to yourselves? That thing nearly crushed us. It doesn't want to chat, it wants something back. The ship's lights flickered, once, twice. The comm system hissed with static. Then a voice, calm, human, and impossibly familiar, spoke through the speakers. Kale, the commander froze. His breath hitched, his hands gripping the armrest so tightly the metal creaked. The voice spoke again, smooth and steady. You remember me. Mara's blood ran cold. Who is that? Kale's face drained of color. He whispered one word, impossible. The Artemis was silent except for the rasp of their breathing. The comm speakers hissed, then carried that voice again. Calm. Steady, familiar. Kale. The sound froze the cabin. Mara's eyes darted to the commander. His face had gone pale, the strong lines of his jaw tight with something she had never seen in him before, fear. Who is that? Mara whispered. The voice spoke again, almost gentle. You remember me. Kale's hands clenched the armrest. His knuckles turned white. For a long moment he said nothing. Then his voice came low, almost broken. That's impossible. Rin slammed her palm on the console. Enough. Who the hell is talking? Show yourself. The static shifted. For a second the voice cracked, then reformed, smoother, sharper. And now it carried a tone that was unmistakable. Elias Kale. Commander, son of Jonah Kale. Mara's head snapped toward him. It knows your family. Kale's eyes narrowed, shadows cutting across his face. My father been dead for 20 years. The voice answered instantly. No, he is not gone. He is with us, and so will you be when you remember. The tension builds. Rin's breathing came fast and shallow. Okay, nope. We are done here. Commander, I don't care if you arrest me. We're leaving this nightmare. Kale didn't look at her. His gaze was locked on the dark chamber beyond the viewport where the sphere still hovered in silence. His voice was flat, heavy. That wasn't my father's voice. But it knows his name, Mara pressed, leaning forward. And yours. Kale, what aren't you telling us? He turned to her, eyes sharp. Nothing. There's nothing, the calm hissed again, cutting him off. The voice grew louder, stronger, until it filled the cabin. The Kale blood remembers. The Kale blood carried the key. Elias, you have forgotten what was given. Mara's heart skipped. She whispered, Kale, it's talking about you. Breaking point, Rin shot up from her seat, panic spilling into rage. This is insane. It's inside our systems, inside our heads. You two are just sitting here listening like this is a lecture. I'm not dying for some cursed family secret. Kale's voice snapped like a whip. Sit down, Lieutenant. Rin flinched, her face hardening, but she didn't sit. Her hands shook as she gripped the console. Commander, with respect, whatever this thing is, it knows too much about you, and that makes you a liability. Mara's chest tightened. Rin, no, Rin cut her off, pointing at Kale. Don't you see? We've walked into a trap built for him, for his bloodline, and now it thinks we have the key. I'm not sticking around to see what happens when it realizes we don't. The calm crackled. The key is not lost. It is within. The vision suddenly, every display in the cabin went black. Then one by one they flickered to life, showing the same image. A vast plain of stars, and in the center, a monument. It was a tower of black stone, rising endlessly upward, covered in carvings that shifted and glowed. At its base stood three figures, their faces blurred but their postures clear. One tall, one small, and one holding something that burned with white light. The image froze, then zoomed closer. The burning object looked like a crystal, jagged and alive, pulsing like a heart. Beneath the vision, words appeared. The key. The light that binds, the image faded. The cabin returned to silence. Mara's throat tightened. That's what it wants. Rin collapsed into her seat, trembling. And it thinks we know where that is. No. No way. Kale stared at the now dark displays, his face unreadable. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and dangerous. I've seen that tower. Both women turned to him. What? Mara demanded. Where? Kale's eyes flicked to her, hard as steel. In my dreams for years. The choice silence stretched in the cabin, heavy as stone. Mara's hands shook as she unbuckled her harness. Kale, that's not coincidence. You have a connection to this, your family does. Whatever this key is, you've carried its shadow all along. Rin's voice cracked. Or he's cursed, or he's infected. Commander, if you've known, Kale slammed his fist into the console, cutting her off. The impact echoed like a gunshot. His eyes blazed. I don't know what this thing is. I don't know what it wants. But if my father was part of it, if I am part of it, then running won't save us. The calm hissed again. The voice returned, softer now, almost kind. Elias, come to the tower. Remember, the key is waiting. The words faded. The static died. Mara and Rin stared at Kale, their fear mirrored in the silence between them. Finally, Kale spoke. His voice was steady, resolve. Set course. We're finding that tower. The Artemis drifted out of the alien chamber, its hull scraping the metallic strands that closed behind them like the ribs of some vast beast. The moment they cleared the threshold, starlight returned. The endless black ocean of space shimmered again as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Inside the cabin, the silence was sharp, broken only by the faint hum of engines and the shallow rhythm of three unsettled breaths. Kale sat in the pilot's chair, his eyes fixed on the forward display. His jaw was clenched, his shoulders tense. He hadn't moved since giving the order. Mara was at her console, hands trembling as she keyed through data. Her mind spun faster than her instruments, replaying the words over and over. You have forgotten. You will remember. The key is waiting. Rin sat opposite, hunched forward with her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her usual sarcasm was gone, stripped away by fear. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "This is suicide. You both know it. We should be heading back to Halcyon right now. File a report, let command deal with it. Not go chasing after some ghost tower that lives in the commander's dreams." Kale didn't look at her. "That tower's real. You saw it yourself." Rin shot back, "Yeah. And how do we know it wasn't just a trick, a projection in our heads? That thing was inside our systems, inside us. It could show us whatever it wanted." Mara turned toward her, speaking carefully. "No, the tower was real. It showed us something external, something it wanted us to see." "If Kale has seen it before," Rin cut her off, her voice rising. "In his dreams, that's not evidence, that's a red flag." She jabbed a finger at Kale. "What else haven't you told us, Commander? What else is locked up in your head?" The past Kale finally turned. His eyes were hard, but his voice was quiet. "When I was a boy," he began, "my father used to tell me stories. Not bedtime stories. Stories about a place, a tower of black stone, standing on a plain of stars. I thought they were myths, fables, but after he died I started dreaming of it. The same tower, over and over." Mara leaned forward. "And you never thought that meant something? That maybe it wasn't just a dream?" His gaze locked on hers. "What would you have done, Doctor? Tell the fleet that I dream of alien towers. They'd have stripped my command before I finished the sentence." Rin muttered, "Maybe they should have." Kale ignored her. He turned back to the display, his voice sharp. "That thing back there wasn't lying. My father knew something, and now it wants me to remember." The coordinates Mara's console pinged softly. Her eyes widened. "Commander, I think we've been given a course." Both Kale and Rin turned. Mara pointed at the screen. "Our nav logs. A set of coordinates appeared during the projection. I didn't enter them, but they're there, and they line up with a system just outside map space." Rin threw her hands up. "Perfect. We're just going to follow breadcrumb coordinates that an alien sphere slipped into our computer. Nothing suspicious about that." Kale's voice came steady, cold. "Plot the course." Rin slammed her fist against the wall. "No." "Damn it, listen to me. This isn't exploration, it's bait. We're being led into a trap. You can't seriously believe this tower is just sitting out there waiting for us." Kale's glare cut through her like a blade. "I don't believe." "I know." Fracture the tension thickened until the hum of the engine seemed deafening. Mara broke the silence. "Commander, she's right about one thing, we're walking blind. If we do this, we do it carefully. We record everything. We stay cautious. No more rushing in." Kale nodded once, eyes forward. "Agreed." Rin's laugh was hollow, bitter. "You're both insane." Mara turned to her, voice softer. "Rin, if this key is real, if humanity once had it and lost it, don't you see what this means? It could change everything we know about history, about ourselves. We can't just turn away." Rin's eyes glistened, her voice trembling. "Or it destroys us. You ever think of that?" No one answered. Departure, the engines rumbled, and the Artemis shifted course. Stars streaked past the viewport as the ship accelerated toward the edge of known space. Mara stared at the display, unable to shake the image of the black tower from her mind. Rin sat in silence, arms crossed, her gaze fixed on the floor. And Kale leaned back in his chair, his eyes unblinking. The words of the voice echoed inside him, deeper than memory. The Kale blood remembers. The key is within. For the first time, Elias Kale wondered if he had been leading himself to this place all along. The Artemis slipped into the dark sea between stars. Engines whispered. Hull plates hummed. The ship was a lone spark moving through a place humanity had never charted. Days passed in silence. The further they traveled, the more the stars around them thinned. Familiar constellations stretched and warped until they were nothing but patterns no human eye had ever seen. Inside, the crew unraveled. The Drift Mara sat at her console, logging every scrap of data. Radiation levels, stellar drift, strange gravitational pulls that bent their trajectory ever so slightly. She tried to bury herself in numbers, but her mind kept circling back to the tower. That impossible image burned into her thoughts. Across the cabin, Rin had stopped pretending. She didn't work, didn't log, didn't speak unless forced. Most of the time, she sat in the corner with her knees drawn up, whispering curses under her breath. Kale stayed at the helm. He barely ate. He barely slept. His eyes fixed on the starless dark ahead, as if he knew exactly where he was going. Tension on the fourth day, Rin snapped. "This is insane." Her voice cracked through the silence. "Do you even realize how far we've gone? We're outside every chart, every map. No backup, no rescue. And for what? Some dream tower in your head." Kale didn't turn. "The tower is real." "Real?" Rin's laugh was brittle. "We followed coordinates, a glowing ball stuffed into our nav system. You don't know where they came from. You don't know if this is even a place, Commander. You're gambling with our lives." Kale's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. Mara looked between them, her voice careful. "Lieutenant, we chose this." "No. You chose this." Rin's eyes flashed with anger. "Don't act like I had a say. The commander gave the order and you backed him up. That's not choice, that's pressure." Kale finally turned, his stare hard. "You're free to leave, Lieutenant. As soon as you find a way to step off this ship in the middle of nowhere." Rin's face twisted. "You think this is funny?" "No." His voice was ice. "I think it's survival. You can either hold yourself together or you can make yourself a liability. Decide." Silence. Rin's chest heaved, but she said nothing more. The omen later that night cycle, Mara sat awake in her bunk, staring at the dim ceiling lights. The hum of the ship was steady, too steady. Then she heard it soft, almost hidden beneath the engine noise. A whisper. "Mara," she froze, heart thudding. Slowly she sat up, straining to listen. Mara Vey, it was inside her head. Not sound, not comms. Thought pressed into her mind like a hand through glass. Her breath caught. "Who's there?" The answer slid in, smooth and quiet. "The tower, the key, you will see." She clutched her head, eyes squeezing shut. "Stop. Get out." But the whisper only grew warmer, almost soothing. "You are chosen to remember." And then silence. Arrival on the seventh day, the ship's sensors flickered. A shadow appeared ahead, vast and dark, blotting out the scattered stars. A system, uncharted. A pale sun burned weakly at its center, its light smothered by thick, swirling clouds of cosmic dust. Around it hung shattered fragments of planets, broken worlds orbiting like the remains of a war long forgotten. And there, at the farthest edge of the system, rising above the horizon of a dead moon, the tower. It stretched up from the surface like a spear of black stone, so tall it pierced the thin atmosphere and kept climbing, vanishing into orbit. Its surface gleamed faintly, carved with symbols that pulsed like veins of fire. Mara's breath hitched. "It's real." Rin's voice was a whisper, equal parts fear and awe. "God help us, it's actually real." Kale leaned forward in his chair. His eyes were fixed, unblinking, locked onto the impossible sight. His voice was barely audible. "I've been here before." The dead moon hung below them, a sphere of gray stone split with scars. Deep canyons carved its face. Craters yawned like black wounds. The thin wisp of atmosphere barely clung to the surface, shimmering faintly against the void. And at its center, rising from a plain of cracked dust, was the tower. It stabbed upward like a black monolith, so tall it broke through the moon's atmosphere and disappeared into space. The surface was polished stone, yet alive with faint, pulsing veins of light. Symbols shifted across its face, rearranging themselves in patterns too fast to follow. The Artemis's cabin was silent. Mara pressed a hand to the glass, her voice little more than a whisper. It shouldn't exist. Nothing that tall could stand under its own weight. Rin's laugh was hollow. It's not standing, it's watching. Kale said nothing. His eyes were locked on the structure, and his grip on the controls was tight enough to make the metal creak. Descent the ship cut through the thin atmosphere, its hull rattling. Dust swirled below in faint spirals, stirred by forces they couldn't see. "Commander," Mara said, her voice shaking. "Sensors are confused." The tower's giving off readings across every spectrum. Heat, radiation, magnetic fields. It's like it's broadcasting everything at once. Kale's reply was steady. "Doesn't matter, we're landing," Rin snapped. "Are you insane? Look at it. That thing isn't a building, it's alive. We should turn back right now." Kale turned, his voice sharp as a blade. "Sit down, Lieutenant. That's an order." Rin glared, but the fury in his eyes froze her. She sank into her seat, arms crossed tight across her chest. The Artemis touched down on the cracked plane, its landing struts sinking into the dust. The engines powered down, leaving only silence, and the faint pulse of the tower resonating through the ground like a heartbeat. The first signs they stepped onto the surface, their suits hissing with pressurized air. The horizon stretched empty in every direction, flat and lifeless. No wind, no sound. Only the tower looming above, its shadow swallowing them whole. Mara's voice trembled through comms. "It feels wrong, like the air's heavier here." Rin muttered, "Feels like a grave." They moved slowly across the dust, their boots leaving faint imprints. As they drew closer to the tower's base, Mara froze. "Wait, look!" Half buried in the dust lay a shape. A long, skeletal shape, the remains of a ship. The hull was shattered, its metal blackened by burns. What little remained was ancient, covered in layers of dust. Yet the design was unmistakable. Mara's breath caught. "That's human," Rin's voice cracked. No, that's not possible. No one's been this far, ever." Kale stepped closer, brushing the dust from a fragment of plating. His face darkened as the letters emerged. "United Earth Fleet." Silence crashed over them. Mara shook her head violently. "This can't be right. This wreck is centuries old, maybe older. There's no record of any mission out here." Rin backed away, panic surging. "You hear that? They've been here before. Humans have been here before, and they never came back. We're next." Kale turned his gaze toward the tower. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. "No, they came here for the same reason we did." The key, the base of the tower, the closer they drew, the more impossible the structure became. The stone wasn't stone. Up close, it shimmered like glass but pulsed like muscle. Their suit lights skittered across its surface, the symbols writhing like living veins. The base stretched outward into a vast archway, an entrance carved into the black. The air around it shimmered, and faint whispers drifted from the shadows inside. Mara whispered, "Do you hear that?" Rin clutched her weapon. "I hear nothing, and that's worse." Kale stepped forward until he stood at the threshold. The tower's symbols flared brighter, reacting to him, casting long shadows across the dust. The whispers grew louder, threading into all their minds. "Elia's, the key. Within," Kale's breath came fast. His hand trembled at his side. For the first time, Mara saw the unshakable commander falter. He whispered, "It knows me." Mara put a hand on his arm, her voice urgent. "Kale, wait. We don't know what's in there. This could be a trap. We need to think." Rin's voice was sharp. "No. We need to run." The tower pulsed again, the ground trembling beneath their boots. The whispers pressed harder, louder. "Come." The black arch yawned wider, shadows spilling outward like smoke. Kale straightened. His eyes were locked on the dark interior, his jaw tight with resolve. "We're going in." The black arch swallowed them. One step across and the world shifted. Their boots touched the surface of the tower's interior, but it didn't feel like stone or metal. It was soft, almost spongy, yet unyielding, like stepping on something alive. The air inside was heavy, thick with a faint electric charge. Their suit readouts went wild, temperature, pressure, oxygen, all flickering nonsense. The entrance sealed shut behind them. The plane outside was gone. The moon itself was gone. Only the inside remained. Rin spun around, panic sharp in her voice. "The door's gone." "Where's the damn door?" Mara pressed a hand to the wall, her voice tight. "It's still here. It just closed." Kale raised his light and swept the beam across the chamber. The walls stretched upward into darkness, curving like the ribs of some enormous beast. Symbols crawled across the surface, glowing faintly, then vanishing again like they were breathing. The whispers returned, louder now, inside their helmets, inside their heads. "Welcome back." The hall of echoes, they moved deeper, their footsteps echoing faintly though the air was too thick for sound. The corridor narrowed, then widened again, bending in impossible angles that seemed to stretch space itself. Mara's voice was unsteady. "This geometry, it doesn't make sense. The walls are moving. It's like the place is rewriting itself as we walk." Rin muttered, "Perfect. A living maze. We'll die in here." Kale's voice cut through, steady and cold. "We keep moving, forward only." They pressed on. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. The floor was scattered with shapes. Not stones, not debris, bones, human bones. The graveyard Mara gasped, stumbling back. "Oh God!" Skeletal remains lay in heaps, some still clad in fragments of ancient suits, their helmets cracked, their ribs caved in. Dust clung to them like ash, but the insignias were still faintly visible. Rin knelt, brushing the dust from one shattered breastplate. Her voice shook. "United Earth Fleet, same as the wreck outside." Mara's hands trembled as she scanned one of the corpses. "These bodies are impossibly old. Hundreds of years, maybe more, but they're human. They were here." Rin stood, her voice rising, shrill with fear. "And they all died here, every one of them. Do you get it now? This place kills us. It feeds on us." Kale stared down at the remains. His face was unreadable, but his voice was flat. "No, they didn't die here. They were left here." The whispers surged louder, crawling under their skin. "Forgotten, abandoned, you are late." Mara clutched her helmet. "Stop, please stop." Kale turned slowly toward the chamber's far wall, his eyes narrowed. "It's trying to show us something." The wall of memory, the bones, gave way to a smooth expanse of black stone. As they approached, the symbols across it began to flare. Not random, not shifting images. A mural alive with life. They saw Earth, cradled in the dark. Ships rising into space, their hulls marked with the same insignia as the dead at their feet. A fleet, a mission, hundreds of years ago. The images shifted, ships crossing the void, reaching this very tower. Figures disembarking, carrying something bright, something jagged and alive. The crystal, the key. Then chaos, light erupting. Figures consumed, the crystal vanishing into the dark. The mural ended with a single symbol burning bright. a circle split by a vertical line. Mara's voice shook. It's a record, a history. Humans were here before us. They had the key. Rin's breath came ragged, and they lost it, and they all died. That's the ending of your history lesson. The Pull Kale stepped closer to the wall. His hand trembled, but he pressed it against the glowing stone. The symbols shifted instantly, aligning to his touch. The entire chamber pulsed with light, and the whispers grew deafening. Elia's Eukaryote, within, Kale staggered, clutching his head. His voice broke, raw with pain. Get out of my head, Mara grabbed his arm. Kale, what is it saying? His eyes snapped open, blazing with something not entirely his own. It's telling me I am the key. The chamber shuddered, dust rained down. The bones at their feet shifted and cracked as though stirred by unseen hands. Rin screamed. We're leaving now, but the arch behind them was gone. The chamber sealed tight. The only way forward was deeper into the tower. Kale lifted his head. His breathing was ragged, but his eyes burned with grim resolve. We go on. The chamber rumbled. Dust fell from the walls. The bones scattered at their feet shivered and cracked, as if some unseen tide were sweeping through them. Mara's hands shook as she steadied herself on the wall. The tower is reacting to us, to you. Rin's voice was sharp, frantic. No, not to us, to him. This whole place is locked on Kale. We shouldn't even be here. Kale stood in the center of the chamber, his breath ragged, his eyes burning. We came for answers, and this place has them. Rin snapped. And those answers will get us killed. Look at the ground, Commander. Look at the hundreds of dead men and women who thought the same thing. The whispers surged. Come deeper, remember the key awakens. The floor shifted beneath them. The bones slid aside, swallowed into the walls, and a path revealed itself, steps, spiraling downward into the dark. Mara stared. It's opening the way. Kale's voice was steady, cold. Then we follow. The descent the steps carried them deeper. Their suit lights flickered as if resisting the dark. The walls pulsed faintly, alive with veins of light that seemed to track their movement. Every step brought whispers sharper into their skulls. They weren't words anymore, not entirely. Images pressed into their minds. Mara gasped, clutching her helmet. She saw visions, Earth's oceans boiling, ships burning in the sky, a tower just like this one rising from the ruins. Rin stumbled, crying out. She saw her childhood home, twisted and blackened, her family's faces gone, replaced by blank shadows. Kale pressed forward, his jaw clenched, refusing to falter. The whispers coiled tighter around him than the others. Blood remembers father, son, chosen. His breath came heavy. His father's voice echoed in the dark. You were born for this, Elias, don't forget. The hall of mirrors, the staircase, ended in a chamber larger than any before. Its walls gleamed like black glass, polished to a mirror finish. Their lights bounced back at them, three figures distorted and wrong. Their reflections moved slower, lagging behind their real bodies as if the tower was studying them. Rin cursed. I hate this, we need to get out. Her reflection twisted, turning its head after she'd already moved. Its mouth opened wide, whispering soundlessly. Mara stared at her own reflection. Instead of fear, hers showed hunger. Her mirrored self pressed a hand to the glass, eyes burning with greed. She stumbled back. It's not showing us, it's showing what it wants us to be. Kale's reflection was the worst. It stood tall, stronger, its eyes glowing with the same light as the tower's veins. When Kale moved, the reflection didn't follow. It stood still, watching him, lips moving. Kale's breath caught. His own voice echoed softly from the glass. You are the key. The mirror cracked, a thin fracture crawling across it. The chamber shook violently, and a doorway yawned open on the far side. The corridor of blood, the next passage, was narrow, lined with walls that pulsed like veins. The air grew heavier. Each step was harder, as though they were walking against an invisible current. The whispers returned, but now they were clear, each word distinct. The Kale blood carried the crystal. The Kale blood lost it. The Kale blood must return it. Rin's voice trembled. This isn't about us. It never was. It's about him, about his family. Mara's eyes darted to Kale. Commander, what if your father really was here? What if he knew all this and he kept it from the world? Kale's face was stone. Then I finished what he started. They reached the end of the corridor. A massive door loomed before them, carved with the same circle and line symbol they'd seen in the mural. The moment Kale approached, the symbol flared bright, and the door split apart with a thunderous groan. The heart beyond the door was a chamber that defied scale. It stretched in all directions, endless, lit by rivers of white light running through the black stone. And in the center, floating above a platform of jagged rock, the crystal, the key. It was larger than Kale's torso, a shard of glowing stone that pulsed with a heartbeat of its own. Its surface shimmered like frozen lightning, sharp and jagged, alive with power. Mara's breath hitched. It's real. Rin's voice broke. No. No, 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 we leave it. We don't touch it. Kale stepped forward, his hand trembling. The whispers screamed now, deafening, but inside his mind they sharpened into a single command. Take it. Mara grabbed his arm. Kale, wait. You don't know what it'll do. His eyes burned, locked on the crystal. His voice was hollow. It was waiting for me. Rin shouted, no, it was luring you. Look at the bodies we passed. This is how it kills us. The crystal pulsed, brighter, faster, sinking with Kale's heartbeat. The tower itself seemed to breathe, the walls trembling, the floor alive with light. Kale's hand stretched toward the key.